Ooh, it's so much going on. Good morning, family. Good afternoon. Good evening, and welcome to the Mental House with me, your host, Khadija. Um, by now, y'all know that what happened to our young brother is a tragedy. There are those of us who knew the moment we just felt in our spirit that the moment Nolan Wells was missing, that was the moment we knew that the YTE people had something to do with it, and he was more than likely unalive. Not because we want to rush to injustice, or not because we're paranoid, because we know the history of Mississippi. We know the history of the unaliving and the lynching and other nefarious violence perpetrated against. I'm trying to make sure I use the correct words, y'all, in case y'all wondering what's going on. Perpetrated against black folk. Now, because this case wasn't supposed to go this far, they already swept it under the rug, and it was supposed to be buried by now. But because not only do we have a very strong and keen third eye that white people should know by now that is real, and that if we had the resources to put behind what our intuition tells us, then we would act on it. Okay? A lot of us pineal glands aren't that dumb, but aren't that dulled. The first thing I want to do is I want to thank Tyler Perry, because y'all talk a lot of crap about Tyler Perry, a whole lot, and I don't appreciate it. No matter what he is, I don't appreciate what you say about him. And if it wasn't for him having the resources and using his resources to save our people, to investigate things that are crazy, who else gonna do it? Certainly not a Jay-Z. I ain't see him open up his mouth not one time. I ain't see him donate no money. I didn't hear him say, let me add another 50, since he's a billionaire as well. Let me give another I'm just gonna say he's a billionaire. Let me give $1 million to this fund. Let me match Tyler Perry. See, we have to realize, y'all, that we have agent provocateurs in our community, and all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And my question would be to you, who would you love and believe? A person that will take a bullet for you, that'll give his resources for you to help get to the bottom of a situation or put an end to mistreatment and injustice? Or somebody like Jehovah, somebody like that don't do nothing but use the black community to further enrich the white community. Now, you can take that or you can leave it alone. Jay-Z is not a friend of yours or ours. He's not. Now, I want to thank my brother's ballot, because he went and pulled the story down from, and I want y'all to check out this brother's channel, but he pulled down a a clip from News Nation regarding Nolan Wells. Now this video gonna be hopefully not too much longer, but I want y'all to hear him, and I want y'all to listen to the Uncle Toms that we have in our community, because I got to get to another story. Madison, Wisconsin, which is about an hour from here, an hour and a half, about the same distance from here in Chicago, are having a police execution, and for the first time, Madison has just rebelled unbelievably. But before we get to that, let me play my brother's ballad, and I thank him for the content, the clip, and I want y'all to listen, okay? And listen to Officer Tatum, who is a skinfolk, but he's not a kinfolk, and he's not an officer, and allegedly, and he is somebody that works against your colonizer to keep you enslaved, even though he's so stupid he don't know that they gonna come for him next. They just gonna use him until they can't, and then they gonna throw him out with the bathwater. Okay, that's what most of these indignant black people don't realize. I can't stand them.
Just like you describe it when you talk about black on black crime constantly. So what a black man, a young...
Wait, let me say, this is him and Teslin Figaro. And she gon' stand on business, so I ain't even worried about it.
Black boy went with his white friends and didn't come back. So why are you not asking the white children to speak up? Nobody saw nothing, Brandon.
But if there's an opportunity to interject racism into a situation where there's no evidence of racism, Benjamin Crump will be there to do it.
I don't think anything makes me more angry than an Uncle Tom.
Me
a black person that carries water for the MAGA movement, a black person that acts like racism doesn't exist, or even worse, a black person that no matter the circumstance, when they see a black person that loses their life, they always think, I wonder what he did wrong. I'm sure it wasn't the white folks that were all around him. Let's get into the clip. We got Teslin versus Officer Uncle Tom, and they're discussing the Nolan Wells case. Let's get into it.
Wells and the continued unanswered questions. Yesterday we told you about newly released audio that the boat Wells was on broke down and needed assistance. That call came in around 4:30 p.m. And while according to the Wells family and their attorney, Ben Crump, the teen was last seen on the island around 3 p.m. And they insist that they don't believe their son would intentionally stay behind on his own. Wells' mother, Christine Wansley, turned to social media and shared video of how she's dealing with the loss of her son. Watch.
This loss, this grief, this pain, it's different. It's insurmountable. And then it's like you get these flood of emotions all at different times, and grief is so multi-layered. You know, 1 second I might be okay and I can talk about things and I can listen to his stories, and then the next minute I am falling apart and I feel like I can't breathe, and I feel like there is an elephant just sitting on my chest.
Absolutely heartbreaking for the family. We hope we can get them some answers too. Joining me now and soon. Joining me now is Revolt News Chief Local Correspondent Teslin Figaro and former police officer and host of the Officer Tatum's show, Brandon Tatum. Great to see both of you. Thanks for being here. So, Brandon, let's start with you. Just from a law enforcement perspective, what do you make of the timeline, the lack of answers, what maybe occurred here?
Well, I think the first thing is that these activists came in and brought in information or lies about circumstances to make people question. The law enforcement officers have already done an autopsy. They've already investigated. There's no sign of foul play. And one thing that's very interesting that I just found out recently is that it wasn't a situation where you have Nolan Wells and 4 of the kids at an island. There's thousands of people there. There's hundreds of different boats. So him staying behind while some of his other friends went back to the mainland wasn't that suspicious. I really wish that the family would focus on Nolan Wells' life, focus on the investigation, and let the police do their job instead of interjecting race into this situation. And it's completely unnecessary to be there at this point.
So Teslin, you've worked with Ben Crump. You have valuable insight.
People like Officer Tatum, they carry water for white people. He does not have a job unless he says things like, why are we bringing race into it? This happened in Mississippi. He was the only black boy amongst all of his white friends. Mississippi, who has the most documented lynching in this country, who also does not have the best history or reputation when it...
The home of the murder of Emmett Till. Okay? Among countless others. But they have a history. Why do you think Nina Simone said, Mississippi, goddamn? Why do you think she even made a song about it? Come on.
When it comes to handling cases like this, within the first couple of days of them finding his body, they immediately said there was no foul play. And her question to him was, how do we feel about what the police officers are doing? And he immediately goes into saying, these activists need to stop lying and injecting race. Unfortunately, when you pay attention to history, we have no choice but to do that in a case like this.
Into how he operates. You're not speaking for him tonight, but what do you think about the timeline and whether it determines whether Nolan was still alive before the boat left the island, like his friends insist?
Yeah, thank you, Katie. I'm speaking as a mom, of a 19-year-old. In the same way Officer Tatum wishes that people would not insert lies, I wish Officer Tatum would allow the independent investigation, to run its course. You don't know, Mr. Tatum, what has been talked about in this investigation. It has not been complete, and people have not came forward to say what happened with Nolan Wells. So I actually do believe his parents when they said that they taught their son to leave with whoever you came with. So for you to make the accusations that is a lie when they're burying their son on Monday is quite frankly to be disgusting, Officer Tatum.
Well,
and I'm
you
ashamed.
know what's
And
funny?
I'm ashamed.
I hope that you're paying attention to this, because there's a lot of information that has come out, and I've gotten firsthand knowledge about some.
This man is shameful. He's absolutely shameful. And I'm going to say it again like I told the other brother. On some where he was caping for Caitlin Clark. And so bad that he's always saying stuff bad about black people. And he's black. One day soon, when we have a nation of our own, we gonna do to our traitors what America does to her traitors. Now, what is that? Y'all tell me. Our great scholar, Dr. Francis Crest, told us that madness, racism, white supremacy is in all aspects of our life. Economics, entertainment, education, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Each one of those categories, each one of those phenomena I just made, that's what governs our life. Economics, our education, our entertainment. That's why I can't stand, and I get so sad when our people can't understand that it's a direct social engineering to have them dancing and got their babies dancing to where all my scamming ass niggas at. See, that is social engineering. They want your black children singing this kind of death. That's why when you go to the gas stations, all you see in black neighborhoods is death. That's what they sell to you, to us, and that's what we have grown accustomed to. Labor, law. This is what we're dealing with right now. Politics, religion, sex, and war. War. Anything that we are in, either one of these categories of our lives are permeated with racism, white supremacy. And we can't get away from it unless we knock all these systems down and replace them with a system of justice. Come on, brother.
Some things that have happened on that island, and people are going to be ashamed of themselves for sitting here lying and pushing racism in this circumstance. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but
not him. He's not a brother of mine.
But I do know. I'll let you finish. I'll let you speak. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just saying I got firsthand knowledge too. But as we're talking about right now, as we're talking about right now, you made the accusation that there were lies, that race has been interjected. Like I said last week, if people don't want people to speculate, then investigate. So this
Brandon, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that topic, because Ben Crump is notorious and has been criticized by people who have used him in the past for their cases of being an ambulance chaser, pushing a narrative that fits the racial lens that he wants it to. You've talked about this on your podcast and how you believe young black men are unfortunately killed every single day, and people like Ben Crump and Al Sharpton just highlight certain stories that benefit them rather than the families.
Well, let's keep it real. This is all about money. Benjamin Crump will never show up to a kid's funeral or say anything about a kid that's killed by another black kid. But if there's an opportunity to interject racism into a situation where there's no evidence of racism, Benjamin Crump will be there to do it. What is his end goal? He's not a criminal attorney. So he's not going to help the family get justice on a criminal level. He's a civil rights attorney. You don't need a civil rights attorney in a case where you're wondering if the investigation is going right for your son, unless you believe this has something to do with racism.
Let him finish, and then I'll let.
Officer Tatum is such an embarrassment. Would he say the same thing to Nicole Simpson's family, who got a civil rights attorney to sue O.J. Simpson?
Of course not.
It's only an issue when it's a black family. I am extremely happy that someone like Benjamin Crump sees a story like this and takes his celebrity and platforms it on a national level. Especially with who we have in the White House now. If Ben Crump wasn't attached to this, and if there wasn't a huge push on social media, we would not be hearing about this story. In the same way that he is saying people are rushing to say that race is a part of this, he is racing to say, why are we bringing race into this? There is no racial issue. Aren't you doing the same thing, Officer Tatum?
And I think white people, good meaning white people, good meaning, thinking, forward, allies, they know Uncle Tom when they hear one. Most of them will tell you, if we had an opportunity to beat the ass of somebody like a Officer Tatum, we would do it for you. He thinks what he's doing is making himself have greater proximity to white folk, that they will find favor in him because he's dissing his family for them. He is. He's stepping outside the lines of what has been historic, what has been proven in so many instances. So now he gonna take this one instance and say, well, I'm not saying you gotta say these kids are guilty right off the bat, but as soon as that officer that said there's no foul play here, right then we all knew that it was just the opposite of what he was saying. We knew it. And so from then on we was like, they killed him.
You talk, okay? Let him finish his point, and then I'll let you respond.
On a diatribe, so let's
no, he's not. He's speaking, and I'll let you respond as soon as he's done making his point.
Katie, I'll let the young lady go. Go ahead. I would love to hear what you got to say to that.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Well, let's just once again, speaking about things that you don't know about. Katie, you set it up with talking about Ben Crump being notorious for race baiting. I could name a couple of things that Officer Tatum here is also notorious for. So let's be careful on how we don't
need these personal
attacks. I'm gonna finish my statement. I'm gonna finish my statement. And let me also correct you on something else, Mr. Tatum, when you said Ben Crump would never show up for a black kid that was murdered by a black kid. My cousin, Jordan Turner, who was 19 and was murdered by another black kid that also went away with his friends and never returned home, guess who showed up? Attorney Benjamin Crump, I know you're looking confused. See, this is why it's
No,
important.
was that related to black people? Was black people involved in his death?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, that's
and they were
one.
convicted, and they were convicted.
We didn't hear about it passed all over the media. That's a big difference.
This is why you don't know. This is why you should speak of what you know and not what you heard. So again, when it comes down to Nolan Wells, I ask that we use this time to ask people to come forward and speak about what they know. The young man did not come home, Brandon. He didn't come home. So let's use this time, instead of focusing on what people are saying in the comments, let's continue to stay in
Brandon. I mean,
Ben Crump is the one making this conversation in the media.
Ben Crump is the one making this conversation in the media. He's the one pushing this out there so people do speculate ahead of the investigation, not letting it play out. But Brandon, I want to ask you this question. Teslin, 1 second. Brandon, there's been a lot of accusation and pushing that Nolan Wells' white friends have not been questioned enough, as if they were somehow responsible for his death based on race. That seems like a highly irresponsible narrative to be pushing, especially when we don't know all of the facts yet.
100%, it is a flat out lie. The police department isn't doing their investigation. They're doing it fair and properly. Benjamin Crump cannot come out right now and say that the investigation isn't going like it should. They're interjecting race into something that has nothing to do with race. These boys were friends. The coach came out, who happened to be a black man, and said he don't believe race is a factor. These boys grew up together. These boys go to school together. This is a tragic situation, and they should leave it at what it is, and that's a tragedy. Let the investigation unfold. Benjamin Crump they're already out saying this had something to do with race because the boy was with white guys. That is asinine.
Just like you described when you talk about black on black crime constantly. So what, a black man, a young black boy went with his white friends and didn't come back. So why are you not asking the white children to speak up? Nobody saw nothing, Brandon.
They are speaking. They are speaking.
We got to do anything.
We hope that the family can get some answers because a young man is dead, and we want his family to have closure. Tatum, Figaro, and Brandon Tatum, thank you so much for joining.
First of all,
now y'all already heard. Thank you, brother, my brother's ballot, for the clip from your show. But I'm sure y'all already heard that this must be a Fox clip because she was standing 10 toes down, the host I'm talking about, with Officer Tatum, although she tried to give the impression that it was an objective conversation. It was not at all. Teslin held her ground. She didn't have enough time because at the end she had to resort to speaking over him because that's what they do. They give Officer Tatum the time to shine. You know why? Because he is upholding a narrative that they want to present. And they got a whole bunch of blacks like that. Okay, he's in law, right? And he called himself Officer Tatum. I can tell you about sports. We got one of them in sports too. His name is Stephen A. Smith. Every category that you can name, Lord have mercy, there is black individuals who have sucked up and they represent white supremacy in black, and they just got blackface. Now, we know that. Some white folk know that. But you have a lot of white folk that don't want to accept that. Okay? And you already know why. Because it's a cognitive dissonance. They don't want to deal with this race thing. But it's coming apart. It's coming apart. What happened to Nolan Wells shouldn't happen to nobody's son. Nobody. And the fact that nobody wants to deal with that fact, and it takes this long to find out what happened to that boy, and all the white kids is going on about their business, but see, their conscience is bothering them. Their conscience are bothering them because each time they give an interview or say something, the ones that are, all they doing is dropping biscuits. You got the mama who's a judge. She dropped a nugget because we realized that what she did was very crazy to give a statement in Facebook or whatever social media she was on. Okay, because now you locked into that. Okay? All this. But Officer Tatum refuses to deal with that aspect, that this has been going on for hundreds of years. All of a sudden he want to act like it's a balanced society we live in. And guess what? We shouldn't, we don't have no historic thought process as to if this reminds us of something else. You know, if you do the same thing over and over and over again, and it's not yielding any results, they say that's psychotic and it's insanity. And so you got people like Officer Tatum who wants you to live in madness, insanity. Not the one that's just in your family inherited or any. No. He wants you to believe the insanity that they push every day, and he wants you to convince yourself of that. Otherwise, you are an enemy of his. Okay, and lastly, let's do this one. Biggish. I want to play a clip from your because I agree with everything he said as well, and I want y'all to listen to this, because this is the one that his friend gave the interview to Officer Tatum. Okay, Nolan Wells' friend gave an interview to Dr. Tatum, but then there's a psychoanalysis and that is reading this young man's body language, and he said this man is just checking all the boxes. Not saying that he's guilty, but he was just saying he's checking all the boxes of somebody that don't give a fuck. Okay? He don't care about. Now I want you to hear what he said yourself.
What they discovered, y'all. Check this out.
Warren Hudson, a young man who describes Nolan Wells as a brother and best friend, did an interview yesterday, and being a practicing psychotherapist, I noticed a couple of things about his body language and his vocal tone that I want to share with you. So I'm going to show you a clip from that interview, and then let's talk about it.
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. You know, we talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends, and I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me, and Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face. He always had something good to say. I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody.
When the incident happened.
Okay. You know, being from the Gulf Coast, there's boating and fishing is very, very popular. The 4th of July, every year, my friends and I, or my family and I, are out on the water. I mean, that's the one day is guaranteed everybody's going out. And that's a known thing. Everybody's trying to get a ride out to Horn Island, or, you know, people go to Ship Island, but most of everybody from Ocean Springs and the Gulf Coast go to Horn.
Well, he got them serpent lips, boy. Don't trust nobody with them little sharp lips like that. And it sounds like he's reading off of a script. Since Nolan Wells' passing, all these days that went by, we didn't hear anything from any of them. They spent sleepless nights rehearsing. This what this sounds like, y'all, allegedly.
Horn Island. And, you know, we went last year. Nolan was on the boat with me last year, and he was, I mean, this was a common thing. My friends go on the boat when we're home. I talked to Nolan, and, you know, Nolan was drinking. Everybody was drinking, most of everybody. And I mean, Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him. We had just regular conversations, and you know, Nolan was making me laugh. I had a couple conversations with Nolan and Javon, Nolan and my buddy James, Nolan, and I could tell you, I mean, I talked to Nolan a couple times, but it wasn't like I was strictly sitting there talking to Nolan the whole day.
Now, obviously, I can't make any statements about Warren Hudson's involvement, his guilt or innocence in the circumstances that led to Nolan Wells' death, but I can tell you, some of the things I noticed in this interview were very, very interesting to me as someone who's been a practicing psychotherapist for about 20 years and has worked with thousands of people dealing with grief. The first thing I want to talk to you about is his overall presentation. There is literally no emotion in this interview whatsoever, and he's describing someone as his best friend and like a brother to me.
Nolan was like a brother to me.
And he passed away under very mysterious, if not suspect circumstances, just 2 weeks prior. His pace and tone with which he's talking never changed throughout the whole interview. I just showed you a small clip, but they never changed throughout the whole interview. Now, listen, when you are describing emotional content, your heart races, your body releases chemicals, like releases hormones, like things like the stress hormone cortisol, for example, and it makes you fidgety, it makes you move, and it makes your tone change. You don't see any of that with him. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, well, maybe that's just a personality. He'd have to be a Zen Buddhist, especially at the age of 19, to be able to talk about something that is supposed to be so emotional without any level of variance in his body language, in his tone, and in the pace with which he's talking.
But you know who I can't accept that behavior from? A YN that done lost about 20 friends. Y'all know Lil Durk, King Von, and all them, how they get on the interview, be talking about their unalived. That's because they desensitized. This dude ain't been losing people like that. He probably ain't never been to a damn funeral a day in his life.
The other thing that was really telling to me is when the interviewer asked him about the incident on that day, he got very intellectual. He's, instead of talking about like any of the circumstances that led to Nolan being missing, he started talking about what it's like living on the Gulf Coast, and there's almost a faint smile beginning to come to his face when he talked about what kids in that area do when they go to one of the islands down in that area. That is
ain't nobody asked him that,
because again, when you asked me about an incident where I lost my best friend, like a brother to me, just 2 weeks prior,
Nolan was like a brother to me.
It should provoke emotion. It should almost be traumatizing. And then the third thing I want to point out is when he talked about details, about like I was talking to Nolan that day. We had been doing some drinking.
Nolan was drinking.
Most people express those kinds of things, again, emotionally and with some remorse. For example, we really shouldn't have been drinking. Oh my gosh, I wish I had stopped him from drinking. Something like that would have come out of his mouth. But he's just talking about it like it's just some sort of a story, as if the same level of tone.
Ain't been rehearsed.
Nolan and I went and got a run to McDonald's and came home. It's just a story.
Nolan was drinking.
Now again, I'm not saying that this indicates whether he's guilty or innocent. That's obviously for investigators to decide. But I'm telling you, as a practicing psychotherapist, if I were talking to someone who's just lost somebody 2 weeks prior, I would experience this as incredibly unusual. And I would have some questions clinically about why this person is presenting to me in this way.
So this is, I will leave a link in the description to his.
Now here's the white psychotherapist.
She's on Bravo, she's on Peacock, star of a new hit podcast, On the Couch with Dr. Bethany Marshall. You know, I don't like the way Colesrue just said that. Dr. Bethany, I want to find out if every single person has been brought in and questioned separately. I want to hear your take on what you're seeing.
Hey, Nancy, in terms of Colesrue, he gets paid a lot of money to muddy the waters, so at least he's doing his job.
She called it out. Well, he gets paid off for muddying the waters. That lets you know there's a lot of people that's paid off to put out videos on TikTok, to put out narratives that don't make no sense. They're paid off to try to muddy the waters, y'all. But check it out.
There's very important behavioral evidence that is not being discussed. I don't hear it online in any news reports. And that is their empathy for the victim.
Nolan was drinking.
In a forensic interview, that's one of the number one things we look for is like, oh my God, where did he go? Somehow we lost sight of him.
Nolan
in
was
the online
drinking.
chatter, there's a lot of digital evidence here. Are the kids communicating back and forth saying, I don't know, did we lose him? What happened? He was my best friend. I can't sleep. You know, that is what we want to look for in terms of innocence.
Nolan was drinking.
In terms of guilt, what we would look for is lack of empathy towards the victim.
Yep.
Like, he was always drinking too much. It's his fault he didn't get on the boat. We never liked him anyway. Attempts to rationalize, attempts to form a cohesive story amongst co-conspirators, that is going to come out in the digital evidence, because at this point, I'm sure the investigators have separated every possible perpetrator.
Okay. And the sheriff is too much. Okay? And all I want to say is, the cat is out the bag. Y'all can't do the same shit y'all was doing to us for the last 400 years and think you gonna keep getting away with it. You think you just gonna get more sophisticated in doing it? The same old play? But the digital footprints of people is not going to allow you to do policing the same way. And black people are not going to allow you to keep killing us wholesale and think you're going to freaking get away with it. And that's all it is. I don't give a damn who's the president. I don't care who's in charge. Because he'll bleed. And all I'm saying is, we all have an expiration date. Myself, the president, or whoever else we talking about. The bottom line is, the system of white supremacy has to be replaced with a system of justice. And that's just all it is to it. These white people, and in Mississippi, listen, I got too many friends from Mississippi that I know that it left some scarring, trauma in their lives. Older men, in general, that they were damaged by the police in Mississippi. One kid, a man told me about a kid. He was a kid, and the police made him ride the bike through the dark road while they chased behind him in a car. And then they beat him up, and after they beat him up, they made him ride out while they was following behind him on the bike, bumping his back tire and all kinds of crazy stuff. He's not here anymore. But he could tell me some stories about Mississippi that would have me crying damn near 50 years after the stuff had happened. So Mississippi is hard. And again, Nina Simone said, Mississippi, god damn. I'll see y'all in the next video. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you think about this sociopathic best friend. Do you believe they killed unalived Nolan? Because from what it looks like, from my perspective, it's a done deal. And that's exactly what they did to him. I'll see you in the next video.